Film fans YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Josh, the Movie Apprentice, and today I am looking at Dev Patel's Monkey Man, which he also stars in, also starring Sharlto Copley, Sikandar Kher, and Adithi Kalkunte. This follows a man who fights in an underground fighting ring that discovers a way to infiltrate the higher class of India on his quest to get revenge on the man that took everything from him. Before I get into my review, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews like this coming all the time. Without further ado, let's talk about this movie. Monkey Man is Dev Patel's passion project. He has stated that he sustained several injuries whilst working on this film and that he had to turn down several acting roles in order to get this film made. And I will say that this film is definitely worth what he sacrificed to get it made, because Monkey Man, whilst it will draw comparisons to John Wick, and some might even call it the India John Wick, the movie dares you to compare it to John Wick. That's how serious they take what they are doing, outside of it being about a low man cutting his way through hordes of goons in order to reach an individual that took someone very precious to them. That is where the similarities absolutely end. Because this film not only has that theme of revenge, there is also heavy religious themes when it comes to Hinduism, as well as religious violence in India. Now, I am not an expert on Hinduism, nor am I an expert on Indian culture in general outside of the caste system. So I was educated in a way from certain themes in this, because I went away after the film to check if some of the things depicted in the movie are accurate to life in India, and turns out it is. The story of this man's journey from fighting in an underground ring where he dons a monkey mask to working his way into the higher echelons of society in order to get to his target. It is a very well thought out sequence of events that feels very natural and realistic. You got a sense there was an element of realism in this, and that is hammered home during the point where any other movie, this character would escape out of a window. But it is very hard to break windows, and the film very much depicts that, leading to what some might see as a comedic moment, but in actual fact is a way to really ground this movie. This is not a Superman, this is just a guy driven by revenge, and in the later part of the film, he is driven by basically being almost a pseudo-savior of the people, the poor people, the ones looked down on, the ones at the lower echelon of the caste system. And that is very much depicted in this movie, especially through its cinematography. Sharon Mir, who you may know as the cinematographer from Whiplash, he is a cinematographer in this, and he tells a story along with the development of the character, because the cinematography, there's a lot of handheld stuff in the first half of the movie, and it can get a bit jarring, a bit confusing, make you a little bit nauseous as well. It's very out of focus, and there's some seamless transitions where we will go into a first-person perspective of our lead protagonist, only for someone to punch at the camera, and suddenly we pan across and we're now in a third-person perspective. The seamless switch between the two perspectives is really well done and well thought out, and a big praise to the stunt performers in this, because this must have been a hell of a job to block out and perform on screen. But as we get into the later half of the movie, as our character stops being solely about violence and more about protecting others, and how he slowly gains strength throughout the movie as well. When we get to the final act and the final action set pieces, the camera stops being so shaky and stops intercutting between the first and third person perspective, and actually sits on the action in these long sweeping shots that just really pull you in. These are very well shot sequences, and the action is bloody. Like, it is brutal. The sound design in this, when it comes to the impacts, as well as the effects, when it comes to the on-screen blood and gore, it's really well done. It's not over the top by any stretch of the imagination. There's enough there to really earn its 18 rating over here in the UK. Like I said, the slow journey of our protagonist in this, who we know only as Bobby, which is a pseudonym that is established quite early on, seeing his story play out, it's an interesting journey to go through. How he is very much a lone wolf in the early stage, but still makes allies and friendships across the course of the film's runtime. And I will say to those of the LGBTQ plus community as well, there is a theme of violence against the transgender community in this. So just be aware of that if you go into the movie. The way the film is shot, the journey we are taken on with the character, from the editing to the cinematography, is really creative and really well done. There are going to be a lot of screen grabs from this movie once it comes out, saying shots that go hard, because there are shots that you could literally put up as a painting. I cannot praise the cinematography in this film enough. However, there are some glaring flaws for me when it comes to this movie, and that is the side characters. There are two particular characters that the film almost forgets about from time to time, and they just kind of show up every now and again to show that they are still doing their thing. There is one character that our lead protagonist forms a strong relationship with. They have a fun dynamic, but after a certain point, after the halfway point, we only see them twice more, and they never have a direct interaction after the halfway point of the movie. I just feel like it would have been nice to have at least one brief personal exchange between the two. And there's another character that their whole deal is an interesting one. It feels like there's more of that character to explore, but most of their job is to exchange looks with our protagonist, and they only really spring into action in the final act. And whilst it was set up that it was probably going to happen, it didn't feel 100% earned. I will say as well that whilst I do get cinematography was done to make the transition from this revenge driven individual to someone that's more focused at the bigger picture of India as a whole, is told well through cinematography. At times, the editing and the rapid cutting, especially when it randomly cuts between the present day and the past into fragments, can be very jarring and will give you a strong sense of whiplash. That was a big deterrent for me in the first half of the movie. Now, I don't know if this is because I saw this after a run of 3 films before this, so I might have been a little bit burnt out. My focus might have not been completely there. But for me, it just didn't quite work in that first half. When we finally got the full fleshed out backstory of our protagonist, it felt like we'd already seen what was going to happen, and they just finally decided to stitch it all together for one extended sequence. Whilst it was clearly trying to depict PTSD and trauma, it felt very jarring. I didn't quite land emotionally for myself personally. Before I get into my grade, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews like this coming all the time. But without further ado, let's grade this. Monkey Man is a movie that had a lot of heart put into this. You can tell Dev Patel had a lot of passion for this project. It is shown on screen. You can feel that radiate off the screen. The cinematography is absolutely to die for, and the visual storytelling complements the structural storytelling very well, and the evolution of the story and the ending just feels like a natural progression for a character taking the depiction of this Hindu deity. Again, I cannot attest to how accurate the film portrays religious violence in India or Hinduism as its own religion as well, but I will say that the themes are there, and I feel like those that are more in the know will be able to take a lot more from it than I did. And with some of the side characters not really living up to potential and some strange editing choices in the movie, that's what really stops this film from getting pushed into a great or perfect tier for me, because there are a number of flaws with the movie on a technical level for me. But in terms of just a movie to sit back and just watch some action play out while having some deep themes and a deep story from our protagonist's journey, this is must-see cinema. Monkey Man is definitely going to be a film that a lot of people are going to be talking about when it comes out, and I can't wait to see the discussions about it. I'm going to have to say that for me, Monkey Man is a good cup of tea. So Monkey Man, have you seen it? Have let me know you thought down in the comments below. Draw a bit of light. How well does it portray the themes of the Hindu religion as well as just religious violence in India? I'm genuinely curious by those in the know how well the film depicts these themes. But coming up on the channel, going to do a very late review of Godzilla X Kong, and I think that might be it for a few days from me, as I will not be doing anything over the weekend, but it's WrestleMania weekend and I'm a wrestling fan. So Small hiatus there, but don't worry, I'll be back before you even realise I was gone. Until next time, everybody, I am Josh, I have been your Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you all in the next video.